Okay, let's see. Type a message here real quick, guys. Hang on just 1 second. Okay. Let me get you promoted here. Hang on just a moment, and I will get this done and we'll get started. Okay, let's see. All right, so far so good. Okay, I think I've got everybody so far. I know there'll be others, and hey, Mark Phillips, meet Naomi Corpenning. She's also in Hawaii. She recently joined the team.
Naomi. Okay, hi Naomi.
Yeah. How you doing, Dustin?
Good. How you doing?
All right. Hey, Lisa. Melanie, Rob.
Hi there.
Michael. Hey, Josh. Good to see you.
Gary.
Let's see what a few more log in here. So hang on just 1 second. Tony, Betty. Hey, Heather, I just realized we had a call today. I was actually on Zoom, and typically when I'm late for someone, I'll just keep doing stuff. And a call came in, and I realized 20 minutes have gone by, but hopefully you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay, Gary. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Catherine, welcome. We got a couple of new folks here. Susan, good to see you. Let's see. Michael McGran, looking forward to our call. Can't wait to learn more about that project, Let's see. Good. We got Kendra, another new member of the team. There's Gina. Every time I do this reminds me of Romper Room. Did anybody have Romper Room when you were a kid? I'm probably really dating myself here. Oh, Romper Room was
I remember Romper Room
because it was on TV.
I had it.
Did you? Yeah. So Michael, my brother was actually on that one time. He was 3 years older than I was. So they're like 5 and 6 years old or something. And so Romper Room was basically kids and a teacher trying to control them and make them do activities and stuff.
Miss Jean.
Yeah, Miss Jean. Yeah, and she had that thing in the beginning, guys. It was like a lollipop, the big one with the spiral, and it would spin around. And she'd say, "I see Melanie, and I see Lisa, and I see Rob." And
I see a lollipop in your future, Gary.
yeah, me too. Yep. And a white jacket that's zipped up and buttoned from the back too, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, let me promote a few more people here. Hang on 1 second. Hey, Greg Covington, good to see you, man. Hey, Greg, when can we have a talk? I want to run something by here. If you don't mind, just use the scheduling to set up a call with me. If one's not there, just let me know and we'll figure something out. Okay. Okay. Oh, good. We got some guests too. Carmen, Marjorie, good to see you guys. Dustin, we got a full house tonight. Okay, still probably have to promote a few more people. But first off, I want to welcome aboard some of the new folks. Kendra, Naomi, welcome aboard, guys. Good to see you. And let's see if there's any other new folks. Everybody say hi to Naomi and Kendra, if you don't mind.
Hi, Naomi. Hey, Kendra.
Hey, Naomi.
Hey.
Kendra.
Yeah.
Hey,
And,
Gary, I'll call you.
all right, man. And then Mark
Aloha.
Phillips, Mark, we'll make you an honorary new member. We know you got some steps to take first, So, and Greg Covington, you're a lifetime honorary member. How about that?
Appreciate it.
There you
I
go.
love it. I love it. Yeah.
Tonight, guys, well, first off, I want to introduce you to Dustin Nulf. He's also new to the team back in December. And Dustin and I have known each other. Sorry, guys. Hang on 1 second. for a lot of years, and cut from the same cloth, the same area, almost identical business models and business structures. And I know I think I've trained at least two of Dustin's folks over the years, and Dustin and I used to collaborate, and we were like the only two people that did what we did in our entire MLS. I mean, it was amazing, the way we did it. So Dustin's has property management for everybody who's interested in property management. You heard, well, we can't do that, and this and that and the other thing. I understand where the sentiment comes from. Whether you're Keller Williams or EXP or another company, typically, I'm just saying typically because not always the case, the company that you're with doesn't provide property management services. In most cases, their E&O policies don't even cover it. That's why they say you can't do that. But what we hear is, oh, I'm not allowed to do that. But what that does not mean is that you can't own your own company. And you certainly can. There's no law anywhere and no policy I'm aware of that says you can't own any other company. I mean, all of us, well, not all of us, some of us probably do invest in the stock market, and essentially you're an owner of those companies, or you actually do own other companies yourself privately. So the fact of the matter is what you can do and should do, even if you have property management now in the company you're with because they allow it, I would highly encourage you to spin that off into a separate company for a lot of reasons, okay? Separate company name, separate tax ID, separate broker of record, separate E&O insurance, everything completely separate. You want to have complete separation, okay, between sales and management. And that's how you do it. And if you do it that way, it doesn't matter if you move your sales license. You can move your sales license, and in some states you can be the broker of record for both, or you can have a broker's license in one, an associate broker in another. In some states, you have to have complete separation even at the broker level. You have to have a separate broker of record, okay? So for example, in Pennsylvania, even though I'm with EXP, I have a Wyoming license, a Pennsylvania license, and a Virginia license. The Virginia license is on ice right now, but my Pennsylvania license is being used to be the broker of record for Dustin's property management company, okay? And my sales license is in EXP with Wyoming. So you have to always make sure you run this by whatever company you're with. You can't just assume you're just going to get, there's steps to follow. Okay, there's a process to follow and procedures to follow to do it correctly and legally and ethically and every other way, and profitably, by the way. So tonight, the reason I want to have Dustin on is so he and I just have to have a good old-fashioned interview type format and go through some of the key components of property management, not just for you to learn about screening potential tenants, for example, which is one of the critical pieces, but also the business structure. So you can see how it works and what are some of the components of the business that you need, because some of you expressed an interest in this, and I did it myself too, So in any case, sorry for the long introduction. Dustin, welcome aboard, man.
Hi, nice to meet you all.
Yep. Hey, Dustin, if you wouldn't mind, excuse me, give him a quick little bio on yourself, and then we can that'll give him some context. We can go from there.
Okay, I got into real estate around 2008. It was actually the end of 2007, but I didn't actually hang my license until January 2008. Wanted to be a real estate investor, and that's why I got licensed. I figured if I got licensed, I'd learn a little bit about real estate getting licensed, and then I could, get my feet wet. Bought a property, market crashed, it was quite the learning experience, but I ended up getting the hang of sales after about 2 years or so, and ended up leaving my first brokerage with 22 listings. I was a top listing agent when I left. Started a sales team, kept buying rental properties, got to the point where I couldn't handle the rental properties on my own being a self-manager, and I decided I needed to either hire a management company or create a management company, and decided to create a management company because I'm a control freak. And it didn't go well for the first try at it, and the second try at it, I partnered with a guy who was a bookkeeper and accountant type, and we ended up I was the gas pedal, he was the brake, And, we grew quickly as he would allow me to grow. And it was end of 2020, I bought him out and now own the management company 100%. So I own a sales team, I own a management company, and I own 21 rental properties. I gave away 11 rental properties when I bought my partner out also. So I would be over 32 right now, but gave away some of them.
That's pretty awesome. Thanks, Dustin, for sharing that. And for everybody listening, a couple of key things here. Would you say Dustin has developed multiple streams of income? Yep. He's in sales. He sells real estate. He buys it himself and he manages it for himself and other people. And that's three. That's all you need. You can do 23 things, but really three is at a minimum have three things. You can choose the three you want. The reason I like property management is it is a great business model. It's basically like a factory line, it's assembly line type management. But in addition to the profit, it is a tremendous lead source. I mean, all the tenants, from when they move, you should always ask them well before their end of their lease date, say, if you think they will qualify based on when they got into the apartment the year before, have a marketing piece ready and say, have you ever thought about buying your own home? Interest rates are low. Man, you could be an owner and instead of making somebody else rich, make yourself rich. It's a lead source there. The owners themselves keep trading properties, buying and selling. And the thing I like about investors is they never stop. We never stop buying or selling. Okay. But also they want to have people manage their property. So they'll naturally come to you. You don't have to, I probably never spent, I may have spent a total of $100 in all the years I did on attracting new clients from our property management business. It was all word of mouth. But think about this, all of the vendors, the lenders, the attorneys, contractors, inspectors, appraisers, utility people, municipal people. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. For now, you have names and numbers of all these people and their emails that you can then market to help them buy and sell their own homes and potentially invest too. So, now having said all that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dustin, because Dustin, would you say that there's some inherent gray hair initiators in property management?
Yeah, no, it's fun. I love it. Yeah, I mean, well, that's business, right? Like if you create a solution to a problem, then you've created a business or business idea. So, property management is a problem that needs to be solved. And in a lot of markets, most property management companies suck. So, for you to be able to come in and open your own business and actually take a large portion of market share is not as difficult as it may be in some other, business venture. Like right now in real estate sales, the market's been nuts and there's more real estate agents now than there ever has been. So for you to go out and pick up market share as a sales agent, it's probably way harder than you to go pick up market share as a property management company.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I used to call it a soft industry. Soft meaning it was easy to penetrate. It was just like Dustin doing it now. When I did it before, most people really did. They sucked at it, and I got so many clients referred to me for my own clients because the other people weren't doing what I was doing. And I'll give you some tips and pointers tonight, but what I want to do, guys, is make this more of a interview with Q&A. Consider that you're like in the audience, because you are, and ask any question you want, because my purpose here is twofold. Number one is to give you some tips and pointers, a little bit of education. Number two is let you speak to someone who's doing it firsthand and pick their brain. And man, what's the worst thing that happens? What's the best thing that happens? How did you actually go from where it was terrible to now it's doing great? Ask those kind of questions because you've got the real live kahuna here. Okay. So right off the bat, any questions right off the bat?
Well, I love those questions that you just asked, Gary. So
Okay.
great starters. I just love the idea of the multiple income streams. And I'd also like to know, Dustin, if you'd share how did you get started in the property management business? And then how did the the 21 houses that you like, what happened first and when, like the timeline and doing that simultaneously, or what did that look like?
Yeah, well, so when I got my real estate license, the idea was to become a real estate investor, and it wasn't necessarily to become a sales agent. I just thought that I'd be able to find the better properties by having MLS access and that sort of stuff. But then I ended up tapping a line of credit on my home, and I used it up. Like, I bought a property and used it up. And then I was like, well, I don't have any money left and I don't know what else to do. And I've always been a stubborn person that likes to learn the hard way instead of taking the easy path. So instead of me like learning how to wholesale or how to pick up properties, owner finance and things like that, I just said, well, I'm going to go earn more money. How am I going to do that? I'm going to sell real estate, because then I'll get to learn more about real estate and that'll help me be an investor. So then I started selling real estate, and I didn't buy another property for I think two years, I think it was, because I was just focused on learning how to sell real estate. And then finally I was out there, I was listing properties. I had like 22 listings, and my next year, I think I closed the year, I had 77 active listings.
Wow.
So I was like just constantly going to listing appointments, and I walked into this one listing appointment, and it was this nice duplex with a commercial space extra, like it was just bonus space. It had a garage, and this guy, it was listed for $45,000. It was an expired listing. It couldn't sell. It wouldn't sell at 45 grand. And I looked at it and I'm like, man, I would pay 45 grand for this place, and it wouldn't sell. And I was like, dude, I'll give you $25,000 for this place if you sell it to me and we have a deal. And he's like, okay, I like you. I'll sell it to you. And I just worked up an owner financing deal with them. I paid him like $2,500 and then did a land contract and paid him like $350 a month. I went in and I put $7 grand into a bathroom. And then I was pulling in like $1,500 a month within like a month or two of buying the place. So it was like it was a great deal, but it was because I had been out there in the market. Then I knew what to look for, and I knew it was a good deal when I saw it. And that was just like a light bulb went off. And then I started buying again as an investor, and I was only buying properties that I went to listing appointments on. So I was killing two birds with one stone. If I didn't want to buy it, then I listed it.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of how I started growing my portfolio. And then, me being stubborn again, I wanted to manage them myself. I was swinging a hammer. I was painting them. I was like replacing toilets, because I thought, well, if I learn how to do it, then when it comes time for me to hire somebody, I'll know what to look for, and I'll know when I'm hiring somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. And, that worked to a certain extent, but it took me away from dollar productive activities that I should have been doing. So, that was kind of the progression of it. And then I just got too busy and realized that I needed help.
What state are you in?
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah, and properties don't sell for 45 grand here anymore.
Yeah.
We're in Pittsburgh. Back then it was $130,000 median sale price.
Yep.
And now it's $275,000.
Yeah. So Naomi, Dustin knows John Perry. So John's, of course, he's to Pittsburgh just a little bit, and yep. So
Okay, he's my island boy. Yes.
Yep. Yep. So all right, and thanks, Dustin, for sharing that, guys. And I just really want to point out, everybody, that if you're listening to what Dustin's saying, it's almost identical. It's identical to my story too. Started off investing, got my license, didn't want anybody to know that I had my license. When I was married at the time, my wife would send people to me, and she later on she said, "What did you say?" So what do you mean? She said, "Somebody said you don't want to work with me." I said, "Yeah, I don't want to work with anybody." So, after about 100 times, I realized I probably should say yes, and the rest they say is history. But let's do this. Let's dig into some meat and potatoes here. There are some absolutely critical components, processes in property management that could either make you or break you. And the cool thing about it is, a lot of them you learn from investing and working with investors. You learn these things already. So real quick, one more thing on multiple streams of income. Would you agree that all of Dustin's actions are centered around basically one commodity, investment real estate. Would you
Everything
agree?
he already does.
Yep, he's buying it and selling himself. He's helping other people buy and sell it, and he's managing it. So when you think about leverage, you know, I learned this when I was in banking. We call it a larger share of wallet. We already had the clients. You know, all we had to do was offer them more services as long as we could correctly provide them. And that's all we're doing here. Dustin and I did the same exact thing. We already had the client. They already were asking us about managing their properties. And now we're in the game, immersed ourselves in the game, and we see the deals ourselves and gives us confidence to invest. So I just want to drive that point home. So getting back into property management, Dustin, what, you know, are there like maybe 3 things you can think of that are, and there's probably 10 obviously, but really critical functions that you've got to nail, and the sooner you nail them, the more likely it would be to be successful and, you know, increase upside potential and reduce downside risk, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Like screening, for example, you know, that'd be one that comes to mind, you know?
yeah, I mean, it depends on where you are in the stages you're building your business. You know, when it's just you, then, you know, I think it's super important for you to know how to get along with people and how to get them to see your point of view. You know, sales is like one of the best skills that anybody can have, whether they want to agree with me or not. You know, and a lot of people are afraid to be salesmen, but like I could always go, you know, any tenant that I met, I could get on their side, you know what I mean? And I could get them to tell me stupid stuff that they shouldn't be telling me. And that's good, because if they tell me that they're just getting kicked out of their place by their previous landlord, I don't want them. So that, you know, that's a beneficial, getting that previous landlord to tell me the truth and things like that. So I think being, you know, people skills is a huge part of it. Making money, obviously, you're not going to be able to sustain it if you're not making money. So knowing your numbers well enough. And for me, it was, I did it by trial and error. You know, I could have actually reached out to Gary at the time and said, hey, let me buy you lunch. But I was too stubborn, and, you know, I thought that I could figure it out on my own, and I did. But it would have been way easier just to attach myself to a mentor and actually like breeze past a lot of those learning experiences.
Okay, I have a
So-
question, Kristen. So
Yeah.
you said in the beginning, you said you did start out your management team, right, by yourself, but
Yeah.
you are a control freak. That, me too. I have a challenge of trusting people to go and do the right thing. So that's my challenge, right? So I'd rather be my control freak myself and do everything on my own, which I am learning to adapt or listen to others, and hopefully that, you know, they'll come through and be, you know, they'll have their integrity. But anyway, so you said that you failed when you first tried. Then can you tell me your failures? Because that way I think I can try to learn from your failure. You know, like in the beginning,
Yeah.
you said that you did it twice, right? The first time you failed. So
Yeah, the
elaborate on what happened there. That would be great.
The first time that I tried to launch a management company, I had already grown a sales team. So I had a sales team, I had an executive admin, I had a transaction coordinator, and I had another part-time admin, and things were moving smoothly there. So I was like, all right, I got that. I understand this. So I can apply what I've learned to my management company. So I sought out instead of me seeking out an employee, I sought out a partner, because I didn't want to spend money, which, you know, a huge mistake that most real estate agents make and entrepreneurs is that they try to find a partner who's going to work for free and do the things that you want them to do, instead of just hiring an employee and you know, fronting the cost for that employee. So I partnered with a guy because he would have made a great employee, and he made a great employee, but he made a bad business partner. And we built up to like 30 or 40 units, and he was asking me for a raise. And I'm like, dude, what do you mean a raise? You're my business partner. You make half of the profit. Like, there is no raise. And like, it was like, when he said that, it was like, that was the end of the rope for me. It was just like, this is stupid. I shouldn't be partnered with this guy. So I broke it off from him. And, you know, I did, instead of hiring an employee, I partnered with somebody else. but I partnered with somebody else who had a better mindset. He already had a successful business running and he didn't need the income from the property management. He wanted the income from the property management. He also had an employee already in his management company who was already doing the bookkeeping and all the basics. So I ended up partnering. I paid in to partner up with him and bought into his company that already existed. And I was, he was a better mindset for a partner. And he already had a functioning little management company. And basically he was the accounting side and the brains. And I was the creative and the accelerator, the gas pedal. Like I like to go fast. I'm a lead generator. I get people to sign contracts. And we went from 27 units to 270 units in 2 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, wow, wow.
That's
Hey,
impressive.
that really is incredible. Out of curiosity, I'm sorry. Naomi, were you done? If you're not, I'm going to stop.
Yes, yes, I'm done. No, that was great. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Yes.
I got a whole list of questions here. What kind of screening do you use? How do you advertise? What's the number of vendors you have? What system do you track with? What's the worst you've ever been taken and what do you learn from it so that never happens again?
Well, I'm in the middle of a lawsuit for 14 grand, which is not the worst I've ever been taken, but by the time I get through the lawsuit, it will probably cost me 20 grand. There's a lot, the most I've ever been taken is by bad employees that I hired and did not fire when I should have fired them. We have an employee, we let go this employee, we fired him last February, and I still find things that he's costing me money on to this day. When we go to renew a lease and it says that it doesn't expire until January 1st of 2033, that's a serious problem. When you go to evict a tenant and the lease doesn't expire until February 31st of 2021, that's also a potential problem. So, that guy, I calculated, he cost me maybe like $50,000, $60,000 in losses, and which is more than his salary was.
Wow.
So those are your big losses. I've had employees that probably cost me over 100 grand in a year or two in losses.
What kind of lawsuits are they besides just the date wise? I mean,
well, this is just loss, right? Like if you find out that your employee screwed up a lease,
right.
and you can't evict this employee, like what do you think you owe that landlord? Because you screwed it up, and then you're trying to make it right. So there was one employee, we credited landlords like $7,000 within the first month of that employee being fired, because there was just so many things that were done. It was just blatant negligence, and if we didn't, then the landlords would have sued us, and then we're in court fighting a court battle over it.
Wow.
So, yeah. I can't remember the rest of your questions, but
what screening companies do you use? Are some better than others, or does it matter?
We don't really use a screening company. So we use like Buildium and Appfolio are like one of the two bigger softwares for property management right now. And they're kind of an all-in-one suite. So you can have your tenants run their applications through there, and then they have a screening that's built into it. So like instead of us going out and getting like the credit history report and the criminal background and all that stuff separate, when they run their application through that software and they hit the submit button, it charges their credit card, and then it gives us the credit history report, the criminal background check, the eviction records, and their landlord contact info and all that all in one. Like it's in tabs, so it's all in one spot.
What were the names of those software programs again, Dustin?
Buildium, which is Buildium, and Appfolio, which is Appfolio.
now Gina, if you're doing a smaller group, like for property management, I've used Smart Moves. My
Okay.
Smart Moves. And that's where the landlord or the property manager can pay, and also the tenant can pay. And that's a really good app that I've used, where I don't get the individual social security numbers, and it's secure. And they'll answer their group of questions, and it'll tell you that, yes, this person matches, their records match, and they're highly okay to do so, or there's a red flag, and you can decide on your own. But that's just for like if you're doing less than 50 properties.
Yeah,
There's also Yardi too. There's also Yardi. Have you used Yardi?
Yeah, Yardi is becoming very outdated from what I
Is it?
hear. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what there's a lot of property managers here using Yardi.
Yeah, that was the one that everyone used before Appfolio and Buildium came
Right.
out, and now a lot of them are using Buildium and Appfolio.
Yeah.
But yeah, the screening, Buildium, when it happens, like it will say like whether you should accept or decline based on the criteria that you put in Buildium, but we still manually review it all. And if there's something that we don't like we're going to ask questions about it. And if we just get the bad vibe from the tenant, we'll decline them and go with somebody else. That can potentially get you into problems if they are the only qualified tenant and you decline them. So we try to make sure that there is another tenant lined up that's similar or better than that tenant before we would do such a thing.
Okay, that's good advice. Your vendors, do you keep, like, how many do you keep? Do you keep 3 in each? Like, what do you do with your vendors?
Yeah, I mean, we probably have over 100 vendors that we would use in any given year, but this is one thing that I found out. This would be like a big learning takeaway. That if you're going to start a management company, do it sooner than later. I found we had 40 units, and we had a full-time property manager that we hired at that point who was working 40 plus hours a week. And we found out that she was spending most of her time coordinating maintenance issues with third-party vendors. You call the plumber and say, hey, can you go fix this? I'm too busy. I'll get out there in 2 weeks. Well, the toilet's leaking all over the floor. We can't wait 2 weeks. So we got to call another plumber. And then we got to call another plumber because that one didn't answer the phone and they're not around. So she would spend like her whole day trying to coordinate just stupid maintenance repairs. And, she was getting extremely frustrated. We could see she was frustrated. She was working 50, 60, 70 hours a week just to keep up on 40 units. And what we ended up doing was I sat down with my partner and I said, listen, we need to hire a maintenance guy. Like we need to have our own in-house maintenance guy so we don't have to wait around for these people to call us back. And she can just say, do this and send the guy out. And he's out for 40 hours a week fixing things. So we started our own in-house maintenance crew back when we only had 40 units. And we hired somebody and we thought, man, we only have 40 units. I hope we're going to be able to keep them busy. I don't want to lay them off. And it turns out like with the turnovers and everything else that's going on, we had more than enough work for them. And then, now she doesn't have to spend all this time working with these vendors and stuff. So she was able to focus more on real property management aspects instead of coordinating maintenance constantly. So now we have 6 full-time maintenance technicians they can do remodeling and turnovers as well. We have 1 full-time cleaner and helper who helps with anything beyond cleaning. And we have 1 full-time inspector who also does basic pest treatments for termites and wood-destroying insects during the proper seasons. We have 1 full-time maintenance manager as well. So our maintenance crew is 6, 7, 8, 9 people for 350 units.
Now, do you have any of those individuals that are licensed plumbers or licensed electricians?
No, we have 1 guy who is a certified HVAC technician, and that just kind of came as a bonus. Like he applied and he had this certification and he liked our job and we hired him, and he does a lot of the electrical, plumbing, and HVAC because that's all around his field. But most of our people are not licensed. We are in the process. We were licensed as a general contractor at one point, and we're in the process of getting licensed again as a general contractor because we're starting to do more remodeling work and that sort of stuff now.
Okay, so when I did property management, I also had the vendors to carry insurance, and added our company as for the liability portion. Do you also do that?
Yeah, in Pennsylvania, you really have to do that. Every state's different, but yeah, it's a good idea to get their certificate and have you named as additional insured.
Right.
If you don't, in PA, if we don't, then we have to pay for their workers' comp insurance and their general liability insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So like we'll do that research ahead of time. And there are some instances, like we use some vendors that have no insurance whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But what we'll do is we mark up 10% for workers' comp, we mark up 10% for general liability, and then we mark up 10% to supervise those guys. So we get a 30% markup on some of those guys that aren't insured. And we do that because they work at a very affordable rate, and we're able to actually make money by marking up those things and still offer an affordable rate to our landlords.
Right.
We don't choose that all the time, but it's just like some of these vendors, it makes sense for us to pay their insurance for them because they don't want to do it.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'll give you a big tip I learned years ago when it comes to the contractors and vendors is actually twofold. You know how a lot of property management companies in their property management contract, they will charge the owner a 10% override on maintenance and repair costs. Have you guys seen that?
Mm-hmm.
So guess what I did? I didn't like hearing all the complaints from the owners. A lot of them were my friends. So I said, okay, I'm gonna charge the contractors a 10% override. So in other words, the tenant's rent comes in, and out of that rent, we pay out the expenses. One of those expenses being maintenance and repairs. As long as it was less than 1 month's rent, that worked. Anything greater than 1 month's rent, we connected the vendor, the contractor, with the owner, like for a new roof, for example, and then we stepped aside because we didn't want that liability. We were paying the contractors, right, directly, not the owners. Okay. But in case, back to this is, we charge the contractors the 10% override. And we said, because you know what, you don't have to go look for work. We're feeding you all the work you can possibly handle. We're doing all the paperwork, doing all the billing, we're doing all that kind of stuff, collecting for you, and we're sending you a 1099 every year. That's why we're gonna take 10% out of your billings to keep for us and give you the remainder. Now we know some of them raised their rates by 10% as a result. But I'm okay with it. The point is we looked more competitive than other property management companies because we weren't doing that 10% override on maintenance and repairs. And the second tip is this on the contractors. We only paid contractors on Mondays. Okay. We never paid them per job, like the day they were done, didn't pay them on Fridays and stuff like that. Because I learned if you do that, you find something later, they're already gone. Or if you pay them on Fridays, and the Steelers play on Sunday, it's not so likely they're going to show up on Monday. So we paid them on Mondays, but anyways, just want to throw that out there. A little spin on what Dustin was saying. Just a little tidbit we picked up. So,
yeah.
Okay.
And we disclose that, like our fees are all disclosed on one fee schedule that's attached to our property management agreement. So they all know that up front. And we do get a lot of kickback on, well, why do you charge 10% to supervise these guys? Well, what do you think a general contractor does, and how do you pay a general contractor?
Mm-hmm.
And what I pitch is, if we're doing a roof job, we're gonna have 3 people bid it, and we're gonna negotiate with them, and we're gonna save you more than our 10% anyway. So what do you care?
Yep. Hey, by the way, guys, I want to also recognize Greg Covington also does property management. He's on tonight too. So Greg, if you got any questions or insights or tips and tricks you learned over the years, feel free to share, So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I will do. Yeah, so far. So I don't have any questions, but I've been hearing some good stuff. So a lot of stuff I do myself too. But I like the what he's doing with the fees, adding that fee on for maintenance. I definitely need to add that. I like that idea.
Yeah. We even added when someone had Section 8 tenants, and I had them too. So I knew it was more labor intensive to manage a unit that was occupied by Section 8 tenants. So we would charge them an additional, so we were charging 10% for traditional property management. And we had a cafeteria plan basically, but say it was 10%, that we would charge the Section 8 units 12%. Because it would take, you know what I'm saying, Dustin, it would take extra time, energy to meet the
Yeah.
Section 8 inspector, all the paperwork, just the stuff that they make you do, you know, so.
Yeah, we charge more for Section 8 on the property management fee. We charge $100 more on the leasing fee, and we charge $50 more on the renewal fee.
Yeah.
And if they say, well, that's too expensive, I'm not going to hire you, I say, great. I know what I cost, and it ain't what you want me to work for.
Yeah. That's actually a critical, what he just said there, guys, is really important. Man, you really got to track everything. You really got to know what's coming in, which you already know that. What you really got to know is what's going out. You got to really think through everything and document everything. Otherwise, you could be in a pinch very quickly. So, so Melanie, I think you had a question. How did you go to 207 units so quickly? Was that?
Oh, yes, I want to know that. That's the one I'm waiting for. So that was a big jump there.
I don't, everything that I like to do it right, or not right, but like, I like to excel at it. So lead generation to me, I just figured, like, I love problem solving, and lead generation is like a problem solving experiment. So how I did it in property management was, there's like 7,000 registered agents in the West Penn multi-list. I did like blanket emails to them. I did slide broadcast where it leaves a voicemail in their voicemail. And I'd be like, hey, I don't know if you realize it, but I own a management company, and I'd be happy to pay you a referral if you'd like to send me some management business. By the way, we protect real estate agents in our management contract. If you send me your client, I will ensure that when your client wants to buy or sell again, they come back to you.
Nice.
Now that one, no management company does that in Pittsburgh. I'm the only one that does that. So the agents that were burned by other management companies started calling me and sending me their clients. And then we just do blanket mail, send out letters. We send out like 20 to 50 letters a day, and we target market like neighborhoods with the rent rates that we want, the properties that we want. And because a lot of the property managers suck around here, like, we'll just get, if we send out 1,000 mailers, we probably get 20 to 30 callbacks, which is a big number for 1,000 mailers. And out of 20 to 30, I'll sign 2 or 3. It'll be like 10% of that I'll actually sign, but it'll be the units that we want. Like, I screen them very well. If the landlord's a slumlord, I don't want to deal with them. So direct mail, marketing to agents. I'm on the Facebook investor group in Pittsburgh, and it's like one of the biggest groups in Pittsburgh on Facebook. It's something like 14 or 15,000 people on that group. And I give free broker advice on there. People will say, I got this tenant and this is what they're doing. What do I do? And I'll say, as a licensed broker for 15 years, here's what I would suggest. And they're like, this is great. Thank you. And then people start remembering my name on there. And, you'll see like, who's the best property manager in Pittsburgh? And then people will start tagging me in it. And it's like, they've never even met me. They just see that I'm responding to things and know that I'm in property management. And that's a big one there. Like, I get a lot of leads from Facebook, the Facebook group also. But those are my 3. That's pretty much probably it.
Excellent. Thank you. Great information.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. How about we talk about Buildium as a system. I don't know if Dustin, anybody uses Propertyware. We had that for a while. That was, at the time, that was really good.
That's what we use, Propertyware, and it's outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gotten even better. So they just introduced a couple of new items on Propertyware where you can actually screen, do the tenants do the application, pay the fees, everything right through Propertyware, and then it also tracks it, everything, all your payments, all your expenses. It sends you messages if your tenant is late, sends messages if the check bounce. It's just Propertyware is a really good system, and it's very cost effective.
Is there a minimum of how many units you have to have?
I'm not sure on that, to be honest.
Hey, Naomi, it would Propertyware in the past was definitely one of the more, it was the Cadillac, so it cost more. And AOD would say, hey, you need to have a minimum number of units to be able to use our product. It won't be costed. I forget what the number was, but when we first looked at them, we were just starting out. We had like Dustin, like 40 units. It wasn't until we had like 700 until we looked at that. But it was
Right.
cool. So I don't know, Dustin, does Buildium have the portals? Like an owner can log and go online and see your
Yeah, and
account?
Buildium, I
Oh.
don't think has a minimum either. I think that's why we ended up going with it when we did, because Appfolio had a minimum where it would make sense, and we didn't want to spend that money, so we went with Buildium instead. But yeah, with Buildium, the owners can log in and they can see any documents that you've uploaded and shared with them. So like we upload a lease and we share it with them. We don't send them a copy of the lease. It's in Buildium. If they call us and say, hey, can you get me copies of my leases because I want to do a refinance? Log into your owner portal and find your copies of your leases. This is how you do it. Hey, can you send somebody over to fix that gutter that I drove by and there's a gutter hanging? Log into your owner portal and put a task in for us to fix it. Because it like, if you don't do it that way, that's our system. If you don't use our system, we're probably going to forget about it. And we do the same for tenants. The tenants can log in. Tenant will call, my toilet's running. Log into Buildium, put in a request through the maintenance line. That way everything's tracked. Like if you got everything going through that same point and that is your system and you're not trying to do 2 or 3 different systems, everybody's going to be more efficient and effective.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Propertyware pretty much does the same thing. I tell you something else Propertyware just introduced too, and I don't know if the company you use, they just started an insurance division now.
Yeah.
So we don't let the tenant get insurance anymore. We automatically assign our insurance, and it's only $17.
Oh, wow.
For like $100,000 worth of insurance coverage, you know.
Oh, that's
So-
good. So the Propertyware will automatically like tell, I mean, like some renters, they're supposed to give you insurance, right? So, but you can automatically go through Propertyware.
Yep,
Oh,
we
that's
assign it
good.
automatically. We got an addendum with our leasing package.
Right.
Automatically go with our insurance.
Nice.
I like that.
That's
I like
Buildium
that.
is in the
Yeah.
process of launching that. And then
Yeah.
what they do is like, you can charge like a $2 service fee monthly to deal with it. And then you can turn that into a little bit of a profit center for you as well. So, you know, if the insurance is $15 a month, you're charging 17 a month, and then
Mhm.
you have it written right into your lease that the tenant has to use that insurance. That way, you
Yeah,
know
that's
they'll have
absolutely
insurance.
Yeah, that's absolutely what Propertyware does. We actually pay like $10 and we charge 17.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey guys, a couple of things here. Right? We can stay long tonight. I knew this was going to be a good subject, a lot of engagement, but I wanted to also recognize Catherine Lockett's also brand new to the team. So welcome Catherine to the team. Good to see you. Yep. And then we have other guests, Marjorie and Letitia, both are guests from Gina and Laura Janvier. So welcome to the class. I'm glad you guys are here. Hey, one subject I do want to touch on, guys, is, you know, and this is a big part of the business. And the more units you have whether as an owner or a property manager, the more this is going to surface. See, property management, at the end of the day, it's a human relations business. I mean, you're dealing with owners, obviously, that's one relationship. But the tenants, between food, shelter, and clothing, you're providing one of those 3 necessities for basic survival. And stuff happens in life. I mean, my first couple of years, I was lucky. I didn't have any hardships. I mean, one of my uncles told me one thing. He said, "You're really lucky. You got through your first couple of years without any crisis." He said, "That's one of the secrets of success is if you have a crisis in the first couple of months you start out, it'll generally knock you out of the game in any business. But if you can make it a few years, you can learn the ropes, get your you know, learn your style and your stride and your pace, and learn how to manage money and all that stuff. You can more easily handle crisis. So let's just assume, for example, you're managing, like Dustin, 300 something units now, okay? And one of your favorite tenants, all of a sudden you get a call that she was found in her kitchen. She'd passed away. This actually happened. I've had 3 people die in my apartments. The first one was one of my favorite all-time tenants. And I was totally caught off guard. I didn't realize that you couldn't access your apartment because a coroner had to come and they tape it off, man. You know, and you can't go in there until they give you permission. And then we tried to find next to kin. Couldn't find next to kin. Finally found somebody. I mean, all these things you go through and you're trying to be a compassionate human being, but you've also got to be a business person. That unit is sitting there empty right now, and it's not bringing in cash flow. And that's the worst, the biggest killer to invest in real estate is not having income coming in. You know, when you have an empty unit, you're completely in the red, you know, on a daily basis. What's worse is having a bad tenant that's not paying your rent and causing damage. That's even worse. But what I want to get back to is the human relations part of it. So Dustin, if you have any examples or one, you know, protect, you know, change the names to protect the innocent, but an example of what that was like and what you went through, because I know for me, it took a while to figure out you can be a compassionate human being and be a profitable property manager too, you know. But any tips or tricks, Dustin, you can think of you've experienced?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing is you're hanging in the balance between being compassionate and representing the landlord. You know, we had our second suicide here this year. And it happened to be a woman that we've been trying to evict for like a year and a half. So like, you know, we weren't adding to her mental stability by trying to evict her for a year and a half. But you know, the benefit of it is when we did get her into court, her mental health did come up, and we actually ended up, the court ordered her to get a counselor. So because of the fact that we were trying to evict her, we actually got her into counseling in the first place.
Good.
So, you know, that was kind of the, you know, the balanced scale of, you know, us doing the right thing for the landlord, but also giving her the benefit of the doubt and letting her try to work through counseling. And the fact of the matter is that she still ended up, you know, lying and scheming and doing a lot of other crazy stuff and still not paying, damaging the property, causing, you know, multiple calls to the police to come over there for noise violations and whatnot. And we had a, you know, final hearing where the judge had said, you know, this is it. If you're not paid up by then, we are removing you. And she didn't show up for it, and she had hung herself. So, you know, now we're dealing with, you know, a grieving daughter and all these possessions that are still in the property after a month. And, you know, what do? You know, you have 30 days. If you do it correctly, in 30 days, you can trash all of those possessions, but is that the right thing to do or not? You know? So we've made every effort beyond what was legal to reach out to the daughter and the family and make sure that they got what they needed out of there. And now we're, you know, cleaning this place out, and, you know, we could charge it back to her family if we wanted to be a bunch of a-holes and stick to the lease. However, you know, we're not going to do that. We're going to clean it out. We're going to clean it up and try to get it rented out again so the landlord can get his income coming back in and, you know, move on.
Now, do you have to disclose that to the next tenant in your
Not in
state?
Pennsylvania, no. We had another one that shot bullet holes through the house, and that one we didn't disclose, but we also missed a couple of the bullet holes, so the new tenants found out anyway.
Yeah. I tell you what, guys, there'll be some challenging times. I'll just tell you this briefly. We'll move on. The biggest challenge I ever had was back in 2004 in Pittsburgh. Was a lucky recipient of the remnants of 2 hurricanes, 2 weeks apart, back to back. And when the second one came around, it also coincided with another front came in from the north or something. They called it like the perfect storm over Western Pennsylvania. This is when George Bush Jr. flew up in a helicopter and landed in a place called Millvale, where I happened to have some units that were underwater. But in any case, that Friday when the storm came in, I was flying out to Chicago for the weekend, and they were calling for like 1 inch of rain. And it was a beautiful September day. Land in Chicago, get to the condo, turn on the news, and they had this flash, like, hey, you know, alert, whatever, Pittsburgh underwater. And right then, one of my lead management guys called and said, hey, Gary, or left a message, say, hey, Gary, get on, look at the news real quick. The Blarney Stone's underwater. The Blarney Stone was a restaurant in Etna across the street from one of my units. And I thought, holy crap. So I called one of the tenants I knew there, And she didn't answer, so I called her where she worked. I knew she worked up at North Park Lounge, a place called North Park Lounge. And the person who answered the phone hung up right away. And I called back and said, don't hang up, because I was calling from an out-of-state number. And I said, I need to speak to Jennifer. I'm hearing that our property may be flooded. He said, your property may be flooded. He said, everything's flooded. We got water coming in the back. I got to go. See you later, pal. I'm like, man, I had no fun that weekend. You couldn't get through to anybody. Came back Sunday night, flew over to the point, while the three rivers come together. There were yachts, houseboats in the water fountain, in the point, and just mayhem. And on Monday morning, I got in my truck, drove down to Etna first, and at the last second, I thought, I'm going to better take my deeds with me. I grabbed my deeds, and sure enough, the National Guard was there and saying, you can't get in here unless you can prove ownership. I said, I got my deeds right here, man. I had my work boots on, and they had shut down water and gas and electric to all the units, and people were still trying to live there. And the whole place was covered in mud and silt. In my truck, I had a Tacoma 4-wheel drive. It was sliding around everywhere. And we get there, and we're just trying to, my goal was, I'm going to fix these places up. We're going to get them back in business, and everything will be fine. There was none of that at all. You get down there, and people were trying to comb through 100-year-old photographs of their grandparents and clean these things off and trying to find their pets. And I called my wife and I said, honey, I'm going to stay as long as I can. These people just need everything. There's no power. The sun's going to go down, and they're going to be in the dark other than flashlights and batteries and candles. So by Wednesday, even the professional people, like preachers, were just crying, because it was just you should have seen the pile of junk. Do you ever remember that, Dustin, in Millville, that one area? I mean, it was like a football field piled 3-4 stories high with just debris. And but here's the point I'm getting at. I focused on the people, and I told them they can stay, but it's against the law, but they can stay if they want to. I'm not going to stop them from staying. And we're going to get the place up and running, and they're going to get a brand new apartment out of this whole deal. And out of the 12 units that were flooded, every one of them came back except for one, and she was in a wheelchair. She was handicapped, and she had to get another place. She couldn't stay there like that. But for years later, I would see them at grocery stores, libraries, stuff like that, and they would come up to me and thank me for that. So in any case, but here's the kicker. Thankfully, I had a flood insurance on all but one unit, and those flood guys are running around, the FEMA guys running around, just stroking checks left and right. Here's a check, here's a check, here's a check, except for the investors. And they ran us, we had to go through proving everything. And I found out I can consider myself a contractor and pay myself 10%. Because I said, look, you guys are estimating this thing at $80,000. I know my crew and I can do it for $40,000. Why don't you let us do it? And they said, okay. And they said, by the way, you can pay yourself a contractor fee since it's your own unit. So don't take this the wrong way. We actually made money on remodeling our own units because we had a flood insurance. And then we got brand new apartments, kept all the tenants. And for a while there was tough. I mean, the Wilsons were definitely not eating steak and lobster for a couple months, but that really taught me a big lesson is, I had the same thing happen with other tenants is, there are organizations, I want to wrap this up with this. There are organizations out there that will help people in need. Jewish Community Center, Catholic Charities, Community Outreach, Goodwill, United Way. And what was happening is I was being put on their list, right? And I knew over time, they would say, if you get a tenant in trouble, don't evict them, call us. And I will call them, and they would see if they were part of their history, they've helped them before, that kind of thing. And so we had a real good system here. What it was is we always want to teach people how to fish, but sometimes people just need a damn fish. In that moment, that's what they need. So we figured out how to do that through these local organizations. We would get them 1 month, give them time to get back on their feet. And then the ones that were going to make it, here's how you tell guys. The ones that are going to make it are going to say, hey, Gary, hey, Naomi, hey, Dustin, I sent out 25 resumes. So I got 3 interviews lined up for next week, and I'm meeting one person tomorrow for another job application. That person's going to make it. But the person who's sitting there watching TV is saying, well, I'm hoping this whole thing will clear up. And I bought a lottery ticket, and maybe my rich Uncle Bob will slide me some money. That kind of stuff. That person's not going to make it. So we would call the charity organization and say, look, just want to tell you, this is our opinion. We're glad to help them out for the month, but we're going to have to take possession. If you can find them another place or some other thing, that would be great. For right now, they're okay, but here's our, and they would work with us. We knew what we were doing. But what I'm getting at is we were able to figure out how to be compassionate, but also be businesslike too, because at the end of the day, if you're not profiting, you can't be charitable because you got no money to be charitable with, So if it's one of those things like in the airplane, whose mask do you put on first when you lose cabin pressure? Put your own on. Then you can help more people. So it's tough, man. I'm telling you, that was, for me, Dustin, that was probably the hardest part, that emotional struggle,
Yeah.
Question for Dustin, real quick. Go ahead, Dustin. I just had a question about how you handling.
Yeah, go ahead.
The COVID in the rental assistance program from the government, from the states. Because in the state of Virginia, you can't, once that tenant applies for assistance, you can't evict them. So
yeah, it was the same here.
Yeah, so you have to.
Yeah, we ended up out of that whole COVID thing between 2020 and 2021. I think we only had 3 or 4 evictions out of 270 to 350 units. And basically, when COVID hit, we started finding those resources that were out there, and put, we were sending out email blasts to the tenants saying, hey, this is what's going on. You can get and we were giving them news updates, because most tenants don't pay attention to that stuff.
No.
Especially some of the areas that we work, they're not paying attention to what's going on with unemployment benefits. So we were giving them the update, this is what you can get right now if you're unemployed, even if you're 1099, all that sort of stuff. And we were sending them the links and saying, if you're unemployed, go here. If you're 1099 unemployed, go here. If you need 1 month's rent to get by, go here, like Urban League or whatever, all the local charities and stuff that we had. And we were able to just pretty well keep everybody good, and then the government assistance started coming in after that. But, we started with quite a few tenants that were delinquent and where they just weren't doing anything. And we ended up taking them to court, and at court, they had to fill out their whole CDC thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And part of that was, have you applied for assistance? And, they, most of the time they wouldn't even fill the thing out to begin with. But once we figured out that we could actually apply for them,
yeah,
and run all the paperwork and then get them to sign it and send it in, we were good then. So that we started doing that, where come into our office, this is what you need to bring. We'll do everything for you. All you have to do is sign it. And we got pretty much any tenant that needed it, we got them through that. There was only a couple where it was I'm trying to hand you $15,000 that you can pay your rent with, and they wouldn't do anything. Those are the people that are, they're gone. We got rid of them. But the other ones, they wanted help. They came and got it.
All right, I'm pretty much handling it. I ain't know if you had a different angle, but yeah, that's pretty much what I did. Got the information out about Virginia.
If you want something done right, do it yourself, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so the Urban League was a good suggestion. I didn't think about the local help. So, yeah. So I got a young man right now who just got in trouble. He had a car accident, used his rent money to pay his deductible. So he didn't pay rent in January. So he said, I'm trying to get assistance. So you never, you haven't been late with your rent ever. You miss. I'm not sure how the state's going to help you. So I'm going to tell him to reach out to the Urban League, because he's
if you guys got an Urban League, that Urban League will do 1 month's rent. They'll help out for 1 month. And that's just anybody that just needs real quick help. That one works really well.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So how do you tell what state is tenant friendly and which state or city is not tenant friendly?
Well, every county, every municipality is going to be different. We have in Pittsburgh, there's every ward's got its own magistrate, or there's 3 wards have a magistrate or whatever. and we'll go to one magistrate and he'll tell us like the law is something totally wrong and just not listen to anything we have to say and throw the case out. And then we'll go to another magistrate and they'll rule in our favor and it'll be like the same exact thing going on. What I learned about our locality is the magistrates have no clue what they're doing usually. And therefore, like, you need to be prepared if you're going to be representing your landlords, and you need to come in and be willing to argue with the magistrate and show them what the law is. If you're not going to win. Even if you do, sometimes you're not going to win, and then you're going to end up having to go through an appeal. And in that case, when we go through an appeal, it's mandatory that our landlord pays for an attorney. Right. So we hire an attorney at that point, and then they have to go with us with an attorney to court.
So you hire the attorney at that point. So you don't have an attorney that works for you in your company right now, or a go-to attorney that you have.
We have a guy on retainer, yeah, and then we will refer to him and say, this is what's going on. We hire him and pay him through our company, but we tell our landlord, like, you're paying for this. You have to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What we did, Naomi, is it turns out that he was a friend of mine. He's unfortunately since passed away, but Dustin, it was Cliff Tuttle, and Cliff was famous for landlord-tenant law. And he actually sat on the hearing board. When something got appealed, they went to arbitrators. He was one of the arbitrators. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first time, I didn't know he did that. I got appealed, or I appealed. No, I got appealed. That's right. I got appealed, went up in there, and there's Cliff, and he says, well, I got to excuse myself today. And he said, because it would be conflict of interest.
Right.
That's when I found out later on how things really work. And the magistrates guys, they're not lawyers. They're not really. They go to class for like 3 weeks to be a magistrate. Mm-hmm. And that's it. So, famous story, Pittsburgh was famous for having one of the youngest mayors in the history of the U.S. for any major city. Luke Ravenstall. His dad, Bob Ravenstall, was a magistrate. He and I became friends, and he was one of the good ones, at least for me. But the one in Millville, Dustin, that guy he's no longer there. He got in trouble. He was on the news for, somebody had him on film in a bar drinking at the lunch hour when he's supposed to be in court and trying to pick a fight with somebody. So he ended up, that got rid of him. Right. Yeah. Yeah. But,
what about the Philly stadium?
They don't do that anymore. The old Veterans Stadium used to have a court and the jail both in the basement of the stadium because they had so many fights at their football games. So, hey guys, a couple more things. So a lot of these students, a lot of the agents on the team have been wanting to take on property management. Brianna Latham's one of them. She's not on tonight. She's already up and running with a couple of units. After a long time, we're going to actually roll that out. We're going to take what Dustin has and not franchise it. That's not what we're doing, but we're going to offer to you guys first, before we go out to the general public, the ability to start your own property management. Okay. And where you would own it. It's yours. It's not mine. It's yours. And we don't have all the details worked out. We thought of maybe having some shares. Maybe we'll have some shares of your company, of your small percentage, something like that. But then we can go through development together, and you guys can do it the right way, and have Dustin at the helm, leading the way. And Dustin's technically not on the team, but he is. I consider him an honorary member of the team, and definitely a critical part of our future. So we want to roll that out across the network, across the country, and have you guys participate. So keep your eyes peeled and eyes and ears open for that. We'll do a presentation just on property management, the actual program. I have the training program already, but it's now probably, I'm going to say maybe 6-7 years old. I don't know, but now that we have someone like Dustin on board who's actively doing it and using the systems like Buildium that I didn't have, right? We're going to use that as our framework, but we're going to redo it, and you guys will get to be part of that. Okay, we're going to reteach, re-record, retranscribe, redo everything, and then have a complete training and coaching program behind that for those of you who are interested. And then we'll roll it out to the general public. So you'll get the old saying, the early bird gets the worm. You'll get the best arrangement, the best offering, the best deal. And most likely you'll make the most money. Usually the people that come in first on stuff like this make the most money, because you're going to have direct access, so when do you ever get that? Right.
But
So
Gary,
keep your- yes,
I have a question though. So with that being said, remember I was managing those properties.
Yep.
But in order for me to join EXP, I had to let go of those properties.
Yep.
So how is that, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I had to give those properties that I was managing to another brokerage,
yeah.
from my
I'll give you-
brokerage to their brokerage.
Yeah, I'll give you the framework. So here's the framework we're going to follow because as far as I know, I've not taught in Hawaii, but I have taught in all the other states. You definitely have to have a separate entity. Like it has to be a separate, you can maybe make a spinoff on Piece of Paradise. Yeah, we can Piece of Paradise management, something like that.
Yeah, I had Piece of Paradise Property Management, but since I was the principal broker, owner broker, right? I think that's why I had to get rid of it because in Hawaii, I can only hang my license with one brokerage. So when I move over to EXP, I had to close out Piece of Paradise and the property management.
Yep.
But with that being said, in this program, am I
Mhm.
gonna be able to, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, what's the difference? Because
You'll be-
here,
You'll be the owner, but you'll have somebody else. It may just be a formality, be broker of record. So like what I did years ago, Naomi, and I'm actually doing this for Dustin now. I'm Dustin's broker of record, even though I don't really play an active role there. It's a state requirement. So you'll have your license with EXP in sales,
right?
then you'll have somebody else be your broker of record. For
But
your-
on my Piece of Paradise, yeah, because I just put my Piece of Paradise International Property Management and the sales into an inactive status. So I will
Yep.
bring that up as an
Correct.
owner back up to active status with another broker. Say I
Yep.
could just get, like Mark and say, hey, Mark, since you're a broker, you need to be the Piece of Paradise International's principal broker and I'm just the owner. Correct?
Yes.
Something like that. Okay, got it,
Yeah,
got it. got it. Okay.
and separate E&O insurance, Naomi,
Right.
separate taxity, everything, yeah. Has to be
Right, because
completely
that's what I
separate.
had, yeah, that's what I had before, but it's just that I had to be, like, I couldn't hang my license in both places, so I had to close mine to join
Yeah.
EXP, okay.
And I'll give you an example. Greg, you mind if I bring you up as an example? Okay, so Greg's with another company called Schaefer Real Estate, and Schaefer, a few years ago, Greg can probably explain more than I know, took over the manager role for several of the agents in that office that were managing other people's properties. So now the leases had, Schaefer Real Estate, that kind of thing. So in my opinion, would have been better for Greg is to spin that off separately, just like we did with Dustin, have a completely separate company, separate ownership, separate everything. And then that way Greg's not violating any state rules or any company policies, anything like that. He's simply the owner. He's obviously going to be involved and influential in the run of the business and all that. And what's funny though, Greg, in Virginia, did you know you can actually have, if you have a broker's license, you can have it at multiple entities, not just different offices in the same company, but different companies, as long as you disclose. Virginia, you're allowed to do that.
I didn't know that.
Yep. So you're allowed, if you want to do that, we could work on that if we want to at some point,
Okay.
So that will be an exception. I mean, most states is like Hawaii or Pennsylvania, we have to have a separate broker of record. So my Pennsylvania license is being used for Nulf Management Services, and my Wyoming's license used for sales and EXP. And I'm not directly involved in sales, but indirectly I am. So, and we went through all of the meetings and conversations in advance to just make sure they knew what we were doing and there's no surprises, get a document signed and things like that.
And I don't sign any of our leases. Like I don't do anything as far as the management company goes. I don't do anything that a licensed agent should be doing there. We have separate licensed people hired to do that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I have looked into, like with EXP though, if you are going to create that separate entity and you're kind of the one-stop shop right now, it's just you.
Yeah.
And in some states, you'd have to look into it, but in some states, you can run your leasing and renewals through EXP and then still do the management work legally through that other entity. You'd have to look into that and just double check with an attorney because I don't know how it is in Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii is a little different. You just, I mean, it's pretty strict as far as hanging your license and also just like, it was unfortunate that I had to close my business, but wanted to grow in a different way. So, and I mean, it's a chance that I took, but it's okay. I'm excited about my new endeavor. I mean, I left it inactive so that way I didn't close it out. So in case I wanted to open it back up, that I could, and I'm doing more research on it. So yes, thank you so much for your input today, Dustin.
One
Thank you.
thing too, Naomi, is we can look into this, but if you were able to take that route where your leasing is done through EXP, because that's basically a sales function, and you spin off the manager separately, you won't have to have a separate license for that. But that also means you can't have an escrow account. So your owners would have to maintain the escrow funds in their own personal, some other account,
Yeah, that's correct. That's the only reason I closed it out and just sold, I mean, not sold, but like refer them to another brokerage, because they didn't want to handle it themselves. You know what I mean? They didn't want to take the money in. They didn't want to, they're in Spain, they're in Korea, they're, where my clients are. And they didn't want to have to deal with all that personally. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do a show of hands here. Who here feels like I completely deterred you from ever thinking about this? You think you'd be crazy to do it. That'd be your left hand. Your right hand would be, hey, I understand there's the yin and the yang and everything in life, and this looks like something I'd like to pursue because of the profit and the lead generation part of it. So I'll do both hands. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dustin, anything else you can think of, like a big component that we didn't talk about? We talked about the bookkeeping. We talked about what happens when someone's in trouble. How do you get them help? We talked about the maintenance and repairs, screening. That's something you have the third party vendor do that.
I have one more. Does he hire licensed agents? Is your leasing agents licensed in real estate?
Yeah, so our leasing agent is licensed. Our lead property manager is licensed.
Okay.
My executive assistant for that company is licensed. Our bookkeeper's licensed. He doesn't need to be, but he is. And it's really in Pennsylvania, it's just the leasing agent that really needs to be licensed. We even have showing assistants that are part-time. They're both licensed. So I like to just kind of like, if they have any potential chance of giving real estate advice, I like to make sure that they're licensed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, so if you're curious, you can actually find the landlord tenant law for every state.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to do. I actually have the one still from Pennsylvania. Actually got the entire law, the actual body of the law, but there's charts and graphs that will show you left to right. How do you handle security deposits? How long do you have to take to give a deposit back when someone ends a lease? How long do you have to take to, how much money can you take on deposit? All those things are in these charts. It's very easy to determine. What my logic is if we build it together, you would be the owner, each individual entities individually own. But if we do it together as a unit, a team, as a network, we can support each other, refer stuff back and forth to each other, because now investors are not just investing in one state anymore. They're investing in multiple places.
Yeah.
All over.
Yep. So this is an amazing opportunity to give yourself a much broader exposure to the marketplace, not just locally where you are. I promise you, your business will grow much faster as a result of this. Not to mention all the leads coming in for your sales side. That's pretty compelling. So there is a video you can watch on this. If you go to got an announcement to make. For some of you, you'll hear this in a couple of weeks anyways, when the February team call, which is going to be February the 9th. Okay. We have the new website developed, globalinvestoragent.com. It's not complete. It's almost complete. You can check it out right now, and it's strictly about the team. It's not about all the investing stuff we do on Real Estate with Gary Wilson. It's just about the team. So every agent is going to have front and center their own profile. On the old platform we still have it, realestatewithgarywilson.com. but that was buried so deep in there, nobody was finding it. So on this new website, it's all about you, the agent. You're going to click on profile. They can search you by name, by city, by state. As soon as you start typing in a name or city or state, it fills in the rest for you. It's an amazing platform. In any case, back on realestatewithgarywilson.com, if you go into the courses section, click on the property management training program. It says turning rental problems into real estate profits. Just watch that intro video. It kind of goes over the big picture of why you should do property management. The reason I gave you some of the true life story tonight is I want you to know that just like everything else in life, there's the yin and the yang, and most books you'll read will only give you the yin, right? Hey, this is wonderful. I can make a lot of money. Life's going to be great. I got no problems. That's really not true with almost anything in life. So I want you to really understand what it is we're doing here. At the end of the day, this is one of those situations where the upside potential, in my opinion, definitely outweighs the downside risk. So by the way, every one of you can get the book, the same title, Turning Rental Profits into Real Estate, Rental Problems into Real Estate Profits, in the Premier book section. You can download that for free. You don't have to pay for it. Okay. If you're not an active student or you don't have access anymore to the resource area for whatever reason, Beverly's listening to this. Beverly, if you can put that link in there for everyone on tonight's call, that would be great. So, okay. Gina, did you have another question? I thought I saw your hand up a little while ago, or you okay?
I am completely good because I forgot what it was I was going to ask. So,
okay.
That's an age thing.
Thank you.
No, it's not.
I like to put it down as ADD, but whatever, because Gary said website and I was like, ooh, and I went over there and started looking.
What's that website name again?
Pardon me?
What's
Just
that?
tell them to live long enough. That's all.
What's that website again, Gary?
Oh, the new one is, it's simply in globalinvestoragent.com. So,
But is it spelled out or is it GIA.com?
oh, yeah, spelled out. Yeah, sorry. It's also
It's
globalinvestoragent.com.
really cool. It's got a good, clean look, although I'm not up there, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I'll talk to the team about that later.
And where these folks find these pictures of me, I have no idea. I mean, there's a picture on there like, where in the hell, like, what the? I mean, I used to try to tell them, please use this other picture, but the operations folks, guys, see, they're not agents. They're strictly non-licensed employees. And they, believe it or not, they're the backbone of this whole thing. And they have veto power over me. Gina's seen it firsthand, right, Gina? I'm like the typical entrepreneur. Everything looks good to me. Every idea is a brilliant idea. Everything's genius. We're all going to make $1 gazillion. But Beverly, she's got this amazing instinct, and she knows how to say no. It's like before the conversation's over, I'm like, I think she said no. So in any case, hey guys, if you don't mind, I've got a few more student calls to make.
All the hair.
Yeah.
That's an age thing.
I just, Gina, I just went to the video. I just went to the site because you did. And I'm like, what? Gary, that's good. You have a lot of hair.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's natural too. It's not perm. That's natural. That was my hair was
It's
more
not
hair than that.
perm.
I mean, you can see it. I'll show you some pictures sometime. When I was running around teaching, I had a surfer haircut.
Yeah,
Which
funny.
means yeah.
Your
notice
haircut's
it-
nice now, though. That's a nice haircut you have now.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Okay. Melody's laughing. She's cracking up. Oh my gosh. Okay, guys. Any final questions or thoughts? Oh, hey, Tom Wall. Boy, Tom, did this give you some insight, man, on your rentals?
It sure does. It sure did, Gary. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, well, you got Greg, you got Dustin, you got Naomi. Brianna Lathan's on the team. She's doing management. So this should be, don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help,
Great.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Absolutely.
By the way, Tom is we'll call you honorary member for now, but Tom's in the process of also joining from South Florida and has his own rentals and some great experience he's bringing to the table. So if you need help with that stuff, just let us know, Tom,
Thank you, Gary.
Yep.
Quick question for Dustin. Hey, Dustin,
Yep.
possible I can reach out to you one day this week?
Yeah.
I can get your information from Gary. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll post my cell phone number in the chat and
Oh, did you?
yeah, well, I will, but text message
Okay.
me and we'll set up a time.
Okay, that'll work. Thank you.
The website, Gary, is globalinvestoragent.com.
Yes, sir. Yep. Is
It
not
don't pull
coming
up for me at all.
Oh, hang on one second. Let me
I
bring
was
it
on
up.
it, so I know it's that.
Hey, Gina, would you mind, or Naomi, just copy your URL in your browser and then type it in
Yeah.
the chat box?
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey,
Oh.
Gary, just for the record, I really like the hair.
Yeah.
And
I know we have a little reunion coming up in a couple of weeks down at Virginia Beach, and I'm looking at everybody's picture, and half of the guys are obviously bald or balding by now, and I remember the first time I really cut my hair really short. It was shorter than this, basically a like military cut, and I had like my mom, my sister. I mean, everybody was saying, "What did you do?" They're like, "You got hair, you should use it," So I guess I'm glad both sides of the family, all the men, all the way into their 90s, every one of them had all the hair. It was amazing.
Wow.
Must be the Irish, Scottish, or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Let me check the chat box and make sure we're good to go there. So
Will Beverly send everyone's contact information through the email? So in case we do have to be able to contact another person, or is that no go? We don't do
yeah,
that.
not everybody here is on the team, Naomi. They're different
I
companies.
got it. Okay.
But on the team, I'll show you this when you have your first strategy call. There's a team roster in our GIA team resource area. And you click on it, it brings up the entire, where everybody is, what city and state, email number, whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. But I know, I've known Melanie for a while. I mean, Greg Covington, I've known, I think he was in our very first class I ever taught.
I was.
Yeah. Long time. And you can, I'm sure you can reach out to them if you want to post your number, Naomi, or get Dustin just posted his. Greg's number, emails. I mean, most of these folks are on a regular basis, and good people. I mean, a lot of them bring a lot of talent to the table, So
Lisa said she didn't think she would be interested.
Yeah. Lisa's got different plans that include, guess what?
Coming to Hawaii.
Absolutely. I'm coming.
You guys should talk. You guys should speak to each other. Absolutely. Yeah.
Coming to Hawaii. That's on the dream sheet.
I'm coming home. I just can't wait. So.
Yeah.
But this all sounds really interesting. It sounds like something that I would like more information about because, like you said, multiple streams of income.
Yep. Well, the thing is, I'm all about education. I love to learn for one thing, but you never know what little golden nugget you're going to get. What you're going to get something out of it that you're going to be able to use. At least share it with your clients. I mean, because if they're buying properties, boy, they're going to, run the risk of having a lot of gray hair too. But they can prevent a lot of that by following people like Greg and Dustin and Naomi and hopefully some of the stuff I brought to the table over the years.
Well, I do have a question. Dustin, are you still so stubborn, or are you learning from other people now?
I'm still stubborn, but I reach out and try to learn more and research what other people are doing. That's the one thing that's difficult about property management is that there's not a lot of if you want to learn about being a real estate sales agent, you can go to YouTube and there's all these people teaching it.
Right.
If you go and learn how to be a property manager, there's nothing.
That's because most of them suck.
Because most of them suck. They don't know what they're doing.
That's right. That's right.
It's true. They're horrible. I've been on condo boards, and trying to get decent property management has been a nightmare.
Yeah.
I was on the condo board in Maui when I was living on Maui, and it's a thankless job. And yeah, you're right. It's miserable getting a good manager. They still don't have a good manager. I'm glad I sold my unit.
Yeah.
Me too. And I was in LA.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, listen, I appreciate your participating, and engaging, asking questions. I mean, that's what it's all about. And remember, you can, this, as of several months ago, this is now an open class, which means just like we have guests tonight, you can bring guests. You know, it's just nothing, they don't have to worry about buying anything or any kind of thing like that, or it's just good old fashioned education and networking and support. So, yep. Okay. You guys have a wonderful night. I will see you, if not before, next Monday. In the meantime, God bless you and your families, and have a beautiful, awesome rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Night,
Hey,
everybody.
Gary, thanks for the call. Bye. Have a good one, everyone.
Nice
night.
meeting you all and look forward to working with you. Aloha.
Aloha.
Ah.
Yeah. Mahalo.
Aloha.
Mahalo. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I taught a friend that Mahalo meant garbage because it was on all the garbage cans, and she believed me.
Oh my gosh.
I know I'm bad. Have a good evening, y'all.
You guys take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.